The city never really slept. From the rooftop, its skyline glimmered like a restless ocean of light, waves of neon and street lamps rising and falling as far as the eye could see. It was here, above the noise and chaos, that Arya always came when she needed to think. Tonight, however, she wasn't alone. She had felt it before she saw it, the subtle shift in the air, the faint rhythm of footsteps echoing against the rooftop tiles. Arya's heart gave a nervous jump. Nobody ever came up here. This place was hers, her secret escape from the world below. When she turned, her breath caught. A figure stepped out from the shadows. He was tall, sharp-shouldered, his silhouette outlined by the city glow. His presence was magnetic, dangerous in the way fire is to dry paper. He wasn't supposed to be there, but he looked like he belonged, as if the rooftop had been waiting for him all along. "You shouldn't be here," Arya said, her voice steadier than she felt. The man gave a half-smile, the kind that wasn't warm but carried something daring in it. "Neither should you. Yet, here we are." His voice was deep, smooth, and unsettlingly calm. Arya crossed her arms, masking her unease with defiance. "This rooftop is off-limits." "Maybe to others," he said, stepping closer, "but not to us." His gaze locked with hers, sharp and unyielding, and for a moment she forgot how to breathe. There was something in his eyes, something secret, dangerous, and oddly familiar. She had seen him before, though she couldn't place where. A fleeting glimpse in a crowded street, perhaps. Or was it at the cafe she often visited? The thought made her uneasy, yet strangely intrigued. The wind tugged at her hair, carrying with it the smell of rain. A storm was brewing, but Arya could feel a storm far stronger building in the space between them. "Who are you?" she asked finally, her tone quiet but firm. "Someone looking for the truth," he said. Then, almost teasing, "and maybe I just found it." His words unsettled her more than she cared to admit. She stepped back, but he mirrored her movement forward. The distance between them shrank, pulling her into a current she couldn't resist. "Stop," she whispered, though even she wasn't sure if she meant it. He tilted his head, studying her. "You're not afraid of heights, are you?" Her brow furrowed. "No." "Why?" "Because," he said, glancing at the city spread beneath them, "rooftops are where the bravest secrets are kept. Where people come when they want to be free, or when they want to hide." His words stirred something inside her. It was as though he had reached into the very core of why she came here. Nobody knew this rooftop mattered to her. Nobody except her thoughts broke when he suddenly reached out. Not to grab her, but to brush a strand of hair that had blown across her cheek. The touch was fleeting, almost accidental, yet her pulse thundered in her ears. She should have pulled away. She should have demanded his name, demanded answers. Instead, she found herself staring, caught between fear and fascination. "What do you want from me?" Arya asked, her voice quieter now, betraying the storm inside her. He leaned closer, his presence overwhelming. "The same thing you want," he murmured. "The secret you keep coming up here for." Her chest tightened. How did he know? Nobody knew. Lightning split the sky in the distance, the rooftop momentarily bathed in white fire. In that flash, she saw his expression intense, searching, as if he was looking past her defenses straight into her soul. Arya's breath hitched. Her rooftop was no longer just hers. This stranger had entered her world, and with him came a truth she wasn't ready for, a secret she wasn't sure she could keep. And deep down, she knew, This was only the beginning. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then heavier, drops glistening in the rooftop lights. Arya didn't move. She stood frozen in front of the stranger, her heartbeat louder than the storm around her. His presence was overwhelming, yet she couldn't step away. The man didn't seem to mind the rain. His shirt clung to his frame, darkening with water, but his eyes never left hers. There was a kind of intensity there that made her feel exposed, as though every secret she had carefully locked away was visible to him. "You're not answering me," she said, her voice breaking through the rhythm of raindrops. "You haven't asked the right question yet," he replied, taking another slow step toward her. Her pulse raced. She should have demanded his name again, or told him to leave, but instead the question that slipped out surprised even her. "Why me?" The man's expression shifted, less teasing now, more serious. He studied her for a long moment before answering. "Because you're the only one who sees the city the way I do. You don't come up here to escape. You come here to watch. To feel something others are too busy to notice." Arya's breath caught. How could he possibly know that? She opened her mouth to argue, but his next words silenced her. "And because," he added, his voice low and deliberate, "you've been keeping a secret of your own. One I need to know." Her body tensed. Lightning streaked again across the skyline, illuminating the sharp lines of his face. He wasn't guessing. He knew. "I don't know what you're talking about," Arya said quickly, but her tone betrayed her. The man's lips curved in the faintest of smiles, as if he had expected her denial. "You don't have to tell me tonight," he said. "But eventually, you will. And when you do, everything will change." Arya felt a shiver run down her spine, though she couldn't tell if it came from the cold rain or from his words. She turned away, trying to regain control of herself. The rooftop was usually her sanctuary, a place where her thoughts were hers alone. But with him here, it felt as though the walls she had built around her heart were crumbling. "Tell me your name," she demanded, her back still to him. "Elias," he said simply. The sound of it lingered in the air, rich and heavy. She repeated it softly to herself, almost involuntarily. "Elias." When she finally turned back, he was closer than she expected. So close, she could see the rain dripping from his hair, the curve of his jaw, the way his eyes burned with something she didn't yet understand. "You should go," she whispered, though she made no move to push him away. "Do you want me to?" he asked, voice steady. Her silence was answer enough. For a long moment, they stood there, the storm raging around them while something unspoken raged between them. Arya felt drawn to him, as though the rooftop itself had pulled them together, two secrets colliding under the stormy sky. Finally, Elias broke the silence. "I'll leave tonight. But I'll be back. And when I return, I expect the truth." She swallowed hard, torn between relief and disappointment. "And if I don't give it?" His gaze darkened. "Then I'll find it myself." Without another word, he turned and walked toward the stairwell, the sound of his footsteps muffled by the rain. Arya stood frozen, her chest rising and falling with uneven breaths. When the door closed behind him, the rooftop suddenly felt too big, too empty. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering, but it wasn't the storm that unsettled her, it was him. Elias? Who was he really? How had he found her secret place? And worse, how much did he truly know? Arya closed her eyes, tilting her face to the rain. She had come to the rooftop tonight for quiet. Instead, she had been pulled into a storm far greater than she could control. As the thunder rolled, one truth became clear: Elias would return. And when he did, nothing in her life would ever be the same again. The rooftop hadn't felt the same since that night. Every time Arya climbed the creaky stairwell, every time her hand touched the rusted handle of the rooftop door, she wondered if Elias would be there. Sometimes she hoped he wouldn't. Other times she prayed he would. Tonight, the city stretched before her, drenched in golden lights and restless energy. The storm had passed, but inside her, one still lingered. She paced along the rooftop's edge, the secret he had hinted at pressing against her like a weight she couldn't shake. How much did he know? And why had his eyes felt like they could see through her? "You came back." Her breath caught. She spun around. Elias stood there as if he had stepped out of the shadows themselves, calm, composed, his gaze fixed on her. Rain wasn't falling tonight, but the same electricity crackled in the air as the last time. Arya tried to hide her surprise. "I didn't say you could return." His lips curved faintly. "I didn't ask." She hated the way her pulse quickened at his presence, the way his voice drew her closer even when her instincts screamed for distance. Still, she forced herself to stay steady. "What do you want from me, Elias?" "Your truth," he said simply, stepping forward. "And the reason you always come here when no one else does." Arya's hands tightened around the railing. She could lie, brush him off, but something in his voice made the attempt feel pointless. "And if I don't tell you?" she asked. Elias stopped only a few feet away, close enough for her to see the sharpness in his eyes. "Then I'll keep coming back until you do." Silence stretched between them, heavy and alive. The city roared beneath, but up here, only their breath seemed to matter. Arya tried to hold his gaze, but the intensity of it made her heart race. He wasn't just curious, he was certain she was hiding something. Her secret burned inside her, a truth she had buried for years. She wanted to protect it, yet part of her wondered what it would feel like to finally share it with him. "You shouldn't care about my secrets," she said at last. Elias tilted his head. "You shouldn't care about me standing here. Yet you do." The words sank deep. Heat rose in her cheeks, not from embarrassment but from the sharp honesty in his tone. She hated that he was right. "Why me?" she asked again, the question sharper this time. "Why do you keep coming back?" His eyes softened, though his expression remained unreadable. "Because you're different. The city doesn't distract you. You see through it, past the noise, to what really matters. That makes you dangerous to some, and intriguing to others." Her chest tightened. Dangerous. The word rattled her. Did he know? Or was he still only guessing? The wind swept across the rooftop, tugging at her hair. Elias didn't move, didn't waver, as though rooted to the space between them. For reasons she couldn't explain, Arya found herself stepping closer, the invisible pull between them undeniable. "You don't trust me," he said quietly. "Why should I?" she whispered back. "Because," he said, his voice low and steady, "I've seen what happens when secrets are left in the dark too long. They eat you alive." Her breath faltered. His words struck too close, like a blade brushing her skin without cutting. How did he know the fear that haunted her every night? She wanted to ask more, but before she could, Elias reached out. His hand didn't grab her, it simply hovered, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating between them. The space between his fingers and her arm was barely a breath apart, and yet it felt like fire. Tell me, Arya, he murmured, her name soft and deliberate. Let me in. Her lips parted, words trembling on the edge. She almost said it, almost let the secret spill out. But fear clamped down at the last second, forcing her back a step. I can't, she said, her voice breaking. Elias's jaw tightened, but he didn't push. Instead, he let the silence speak for him. Finally, he dropped his hand and turned toward the city. Then I'll wait, he said, his voice calm but edged with something heavier. But don't mistake waiting for forever. Her chest ached at the weight of his words. He wasn't threatening her, but the warning was clear. Secrets had consequences, and time was running out. As he stepped back into the shadows, ready to vanish again, Arya realized something terrifying. The longer she kept her truth hidden, the harder it would be to let go. And the longer Elias lingered on her rooftop, the more her heart wanted to give in, no matter the cost. The days that followed were unbearable. Arya couldn't focus at work, couldn't eat without replaying Elias's words in her mind. Secrets eat you alive. He had said it with such certainty, as though he knew exactly what burden she carried. Each night she told herself she wouldn't go to the rooftop again. Each night, her steps betrayed her. And every time, her chest tightened with the same question, will he be there? Tonight, he was. Elias leaned against the railing, his dark jacket blending with the shadows. He didn't startle when she arrived. It was as if he had been expecting her. You came, he said simply, his tone low, steady. You knew I would, Arya replied, though the words came out softer than she intended. His eyes flickered with something unspoken. Of course. For a moment, neither spoke. The city spread beneath them like an endless maze, but up here, it felt as if they were standing in a world entirely their own. The pull between them was undeniable now, a current neither of them seemed able to resist. You've been thinking about me, Elias said suddenly, his voice cutting through the silence. Arya's breath caught. That's arrogant. It's true. His lips curved faintly, but his eyes stayed serious. I can see it in you. Her chest tightened. She hated how easily he read her, hated even more how much she wanted him to. And you? Have you been thinking about me? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Elias didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped closer, closing the fragile space between them. More than I should. Her pulse thundered. The air between them was thick, charged. She could feel the heat of his presence, could see the way his eyes darkened as they lingered on her face. It would take only a single step, a single breath, for the rooftop to no longer feel like a sanctuary but something far more dangerous. And yet, before she could speak, something shifted. A sound. It was faint, a scrape of metal, a shuffle too heavy to be the wind. Arya froze. Her head turned toward the stairwell, her instincts cling. Elias noticed it too. His posture changed instantly, sharp and alert. He moved in front of her without hesitation, his body a barrier. We're not alone, he murmured. Her stomach dropped. The rooftop had always been theirs, hers first, then theirs together. The thought of someone else invading it was jarring, unsettling. From the shadows near the far corner, a figure shifted. Arya's breath hitched. Someone was watching them. Who's there? Elias's voice was sharp now, commanding. No answer. Just silence, and then the faint gleam of eyes catching city light. Arya's skin crawled. Whoever it was, they weren't here by accident. Elias took a step forward, but the figure retreated, moving with a speed that made the hair on Arya's neck rise. Within seconds, the shadow had slipped down the stairwell, vanishing into the noise of the city below. Arya clutched the railing, her breath uneven. What was that? Someone who shouldn't be here, Elias said, his tone cold. His eyes remained fixed on the stairwell, as if expecting the figure to return. Arya's voice shook. Do you think they heard us? Elias finally turned to her. It doesn't matter. What matters is why they were here at all. Rooftops like this don't attract wanderers. That person came for a reason. Her chest tightened. She suddenly felt exposed, vulnerable. The rooftop no longer felt safe. Elias must have seen the fear in her eyes, because his voice softened. You're not alone, Arya. Whoever that was, they won't touch you. Not while I'm here. The words steadied her more than she wanted to admit. She nodded, though her mind raced. If someone else had been watching, did that mean her secret was already slipping out? Elias stepped closer again, his voice lower now, meant only for her. This changes things. Whatever you're hiding, it's not just yours anymore. Others know. And that makes it dangerous. Her heart pounded, torn between the warmth of his nearness and the chill of his warning. She wanted to tell him everything, to release the weight crushing her, but fear clamped down harder than ever. Instead, she whispered the only truth she could bear. I didn't want you dragged into this. His gaze held hers, steady, unwavering. It's too late for that. The words lingered in the night air, heavier than the city's noise, heavier than the storm clouds gathering in the distance. For the first time since meeting Elias, Arya realized that her rooftop secret wasn't just hers anymore. And whoever had been watching them tonight wouldn't stop at just watching. Arya couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Days blurred together, but everywhere she went, on the train, at the cafe, even in the crowded streets, she felt eyes on her. Not Elias's eyes, sharp but protective. These were different. Darker. Hunting. She avoided the rooftop for 3 nights, trying to convince herself that staying away would keep her safe. But the rooftop wasn't just a place anymore, it was a pulse in her chest, a space where her secret breathed. Without it, she felt suffocated. On the 4th night, she returned. The city was quiet, wrapped in a haze of midnight. She pushed open the rooftop door and exhaled in relief when she saw Elias waiting, his frame leaning against the railing, arms crossed as though he had been standing guard. You shouldn't be here, he said, his tone low. Arya froze. Neither should you. His eyes softened slightly, but his voice stayed firm. I mean it. Someone followed you last time. This place isn't safe anymore. Her chest tightened. If it isn't safe, why are you here? Elias stepped closer, his gaze locking onto hers. Because you are. Her breath hitched. The rooftop seemed smaller now, the distance between them charged and fragile. Before she could answer, a sound split the silence, a door creaking open, footsteps heavy on the stairwell. Arya's blood ran cold. Elias's hand went to her arm, pulling her behind him instinctively. His body was tense, every muscle coiled. Stay close, he whispered. The footsteps grew louder until a shadow emerged from the stairwell. This time, the figure didn't run. They stepped forward into the dim rooftop light. Arya's heart stopped. It was a man, older than Elias, dressed in dark clothes that blended with the night. His face was sharp, eyes cold and calculating. He looked at Arya, not Elias, as though she was the only one who mattered. "So," the stranger said, his voice rough, "you really are here." Arya's throat tightened. She knew that voice. It was a ghost from her past, one she had tried to bury. Elias glanced at her, his expression fierce. "Who is he?" Arya's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her secret clawed its way up, demanding to be told. She swallowed hard. "He shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice trembling. The man gave a bitter laugh. "That's rich, coming from you." His eyes narrowed. "Did you really think you could hide forever, Arya?" Elias stiffened. His gaze darted between the two of them. "What does he mean?" Arya's heart pounded, her secret pressing against her chest like a locked door about to burst. She could feel Elias's eyes on her, waiting, demanding. But fear gripped her. If she spoke the truth, everything would change. The stranger stepped closer, his presence heavy. "You've dragged someone else into this," he sneered, flicking his gaze to Elias. "Dangerous move. Do you even know who you're dealing with, boy?" Elias's jaw tightened. "I know enough to protect her." The man laughed again, cold and sharp. "Protect her? From me? You don't even know what she is." The words sliced through Arya, louder than the city noise, louder than the thunder building in the distance. Elias turned to her, his voice low but urgent. "Arya, what is he talking about?" Her lips trembled. The secret she had carried for years pressed harder, screaming to be freed. She looked at Elias, at the trust and intensity in his eyes, and something inside her cracked. She began, her voice breaking. But before she could finish, the stranger cut in, his voice sharp. "Don't bother lying. I'll tell him myself." Arya's stomach dropped. She knew what would come next, and once it was spoken, there would be no turning back. Elias stepped closer to her, shielding her again. "You'll tell me nothing," he said firmly, his voice like steel. The man's lips twisted into a smile. "Then you'll never understand the danger standing beside you." The rooftop trembled with silence, broken only by the sound of the wind. Arya's secret was no longer safe. It hovered in the night air, fragile and ready to shatter. And in that moment, she realized Elias was right. Secrets, left too long in the dark, didn't just eat you alive. They drew others to the shadows. The rooftop was no longer just her refuge. It was a battlefield. The rooftop air grew heavier, every second stretched thin with tension. Arya stood between Elias and the stranger, her heart hammering so loudly she was certain they could both hear it. The man's cold eyes never left her. "Tell him," he said. "Or I will." Elias's hand brushed against hers, steadying her trembling fingers. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." Arya's voice cracked. She had hidden the truth for so long, but now it clawed its way out, fierce and unstoppable. Her chest rose and fell with uneven breaths. "Elias, I'm not who you think I am. The rooftop, it's not just a place for me to escape. It's the only place I can breathe." Elias's brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" Arya swallowed hard. The stranger's smirk only sharpened as she spoke. "I was part of something once," she said slowly, her words breaking like fragile glass. "A group. We weren't supposed to exist, not in the eyes of the city. We carried information, secrets, things too dangerous for anyone to know. I ran. I took something they wanted, something they'd kill for." Her voice trembled, but the truth finally poured out. I've been hiding ever since. And the rooftop, it's the only place I can feel like I'm not being suffocated. Elias's expression was unreadable, but his grip on her hand tightened, grounding her. What did you take? Her lips parted, but the stranger answered for her. A file, he said darkly. Not just any file. Proof of everything they built on lies. She stole it. She thought she could keep it from us. Arya's stomach twisted. I didn't steal it to hurt anyone, she said, her voice sharp now, desperate. I did it to stop them. To stop you. The man's smile turned cruel. And what did you think would happen when they found out? That you could keep hiding on rooftops forever. Lightning cracked in the distance, thunder following close behind. Elias shifted, his body angled protectively toward her. His eyes burned with something fierce as he glared at the intruder. You knew, he said softly, looking at Arya. All this time, you knew someone was coming after you. Tears stung her eyes. I didn't want you involved. I thought I could handle it alone. His jaw tightened. You can't, he said firmly. Not anymore. The stranger stepped forward, his presence heavy and menacing. She doesn't need you, boy. You're only in the way. Give her to us, and maybe we'll let you walk away. Elias's body tensed, his arm sliding slightly in front of Arya. Not happening. The man's eyes glinted. Then you'll regret it? Arya's pulse thundered. She wanted to scream, to tell Elias to leave before he got pulled deeper into her mess. But when she looked at him, his gaze was steady, unwavering, fierce. You should run, she whispered. His eyes snapped to hers, sharp and certain. I don't run. The rooftop seemed to vibrate with the storm building overhead, the air electric. The stranger's shadow loomed, the danger undeniable, but so was the heat pulsing between Arya and Elias. For the first time in years, she wasn't facing her secret alone. Elias leaned closer, his voice barely audible against the roar of the city. Whatever you've done, whatever danger this is, I'm not leaving you. Her breath hitched, her body trembling not just from fear but from the force of his words. She searched his face, finding no hesitation, only a fire that pulled her in. Before she could speak, the stranger raised his voice, sharp and cutting. Enough. You can whisper your little promises later. Tonight, she comes with me. Arya flinched, but Elias didn't move. His stance was unshakable, his presence a shield. And in that charged moment, as thunder shook the sky above, Arya realized the rooftop was no longer her hiding place. It was her battleground. And Elias, whether she wanted him there or not, was now standing firmly on her side. The storm finally broke. Rain pelted the rooftop, turning concrete slick and glistening, thunder shaking the air like a warning bell. Arya stood caught between two forces, her past, embodied in the stranger's piercing glare, and her present, held steady by Elias's unwavering presence. The man's voice cut through the rain. Arya, enough running. Hand it over, and maybe you'll survive this night. Her chest tightened. The file. The proof she had stolen. The very reason she had lived in the shadows for years. She could feel Elias's eyes on her, steady and grounding. No, she said, her voice louder than she expected. I won't give it back. The stranger's expression darkened. Then you've chosen your death. He lunged forward. Everything happened fast. Elias shoved Arya back, his body moving with instinct and precision. The two men collided, fists striking against the rain, their silhouettes clashing beneath the storm. The rooftop echoed with the sound of struggle grunts, sharp impacts, the scrape of shoes against wet concrete. Arya's heart pounded as she watched Elias fight. He wasn't reckless, every move was calculated, controlled, but the stranger was bigger, stronger, and fueled by rage. "Elias," she cried, rushing forward. "Stay back," he barked, his tone fierce but protective. She froze, torn between fear and the need to help. The storm howled around them, lightning cracking open the sky, illuminating Elias's determined face as he pushed the stranger back against the railing. But the man was relentless. With a surge of strength, he twisted, throwing Elias to the ground. Arya gasped as the stranger advanced, his eyes blazing. "It ends now," he snarled, reaching into his jacket. Arya's blood ran cold. A knife glinted in his hand. "No," she screamed, rushing forward before she could think. She grabbed the nearest object, an old metal pipe left by rooftop workers, and swung with everything she had. The impact rang out, sharp and brutal. The stranger staggered, his grip faltering, the knife clattering to the ground. Elias was on his feet in an instant. He caught Arya's hand, steadying her trembling fingers, then turned on the man with renewed fury. With a powerful shove, he sent the stranger sprawling backward, sliding dangerously close to the railing. The man scrambled, his hands gripping the slick metal to stop himself from going over. Rain poured down his face, his expression twisted with rage and fear. "This isn't over," he spat, his voice ragged. "You can't hide forever, Arya. They'll come for you both." Elias stood tall, his body tense, his voice cold. "Then let them come. We'll be ready." The man's grip slipped. With one last glare, he disappeared over the edge, his figure swallowed by the storm below. Silence crashed down in his absence, broken only by the rain. Arya stood frozen, her chest heaving, her hands shaking around the metal pipe. Elias turned to her, his face sharp with adrenaline, but his eyes softened when they met hers. "You saved me," he said quietly. Her breath caught. "You saved me first." For a long moment, they simply stood there, the storm washing over them, their bodies trembling from the fight and from the weight of what had just happened. Finally, Elias stepped closer, his hand brushing the wet hair from her face. "It's over for now," he said. But he was right. "Others will come. You can't keep the secret locked away anymore." Arya swallowed hard, her heart pounding. "Then what do I do?" His gaze was steady, unwavering, full of a fire that warmed her even in the storm. "You don't do it alone. You let me in." The rooftop blurred around her, the city below forgotten. In that moment, all that mattered was the fierce certainty in Elias's eyes and the truth she had denied herself for too long. She couldn't keep running. Not from her past. Not from him. With trembling hands, she let the pipe fall, the clang swallowed by the rain. Her fingers found his, holding tight, clinging not just to him but to the promise he carried. For the first time in years, Arya didn't feel like she was hiding. She felt seen. Chosen. Protected. The rooftop was no longer a secret. It was the beginning. And though the storm raged on, she knew one truth burned brighter than any lightning bolt: whatever came next, she and Elias would face it together.